Hello, welcome to Undercover. I'm your host, Kevin Bousquet. I'm a licensed private investigator. We are going to be talking a little bit today about domestic investigation. This is the area of investigation that people mostly familiarize themselves with when they think of private investigators. You know, throughout my career, when people I've introduced myself to someone or I've met someone and they say, I tell them, or I have to tell them that I'm a private investigator, one of the things they instantly think is that, oh, you're one of those people that follows wives and housewives and does all sorts of things for the divorce court. And, you know, throughout this program, what I've tried to do is I've tried to convince the public that domestic investigation or following spouses really represents a small portion of what private investigators do. Primarily what private investigators are involved in is insurance work or private fraud work, commercial fraud, insurance fraud, that type of thing. But today, I guess I'm going to have to play into the stereotype because a lot of the feedback we've had from the show, people have been asking questions about domestic investigation, wanting their spouses followed, wanting their teenage sons or daughters followed, wondering what they're doing when they're not at school, that kind of thing. So I've brought in a very special guest today, someone who I've known for many years, who I have hired to do surveillance work for me, not so much domestic work. His name is Brik. He's with Blue Star Investigation. And Alan specializes in the area of domestic investigation surveillance, which we're going to get into. Alan, welcome to the show. Now, maybe can you kind of just, first of all, let's just do the basics. Can you tell us a little bit about your agency, how long you've been in business and who you're working for, that type of thing?
Well, my company, Blue Star Investigations, has been in business roughly for about 5 years. Okay. I've been in this business for about 13 years. Prior to Blue Star, I ran another company, which I eventually sold to my business partner and started up Blue Star. Okay,
so who's hiring people like you? Are you working for divorce lawyers, or are you primarily working for the public, or who's hiring you?
For domestic investigations, 90% of the time, it's the actual husband or wife who wants surveillance on their spouse.
Okay.
The other 10% is lawyers who their client doesn't feel comfortable dealing with a private investigator, so they've instructed their lawyer to hire me.
Okay, so now, I mean, in the beginning parts of my career, I did do some investigative, domestic investigations in the early 80s, so I know a little bit about domestic. I know a lot about domestic work, but correct me if I'm wrong, that if two parties want to separate, husband and wife want to separate, correct me if I'm wrong, we no longer have to prove adultery. It is no longer required that we go out and get photographs or video or that kind of thing to prove adultery. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, the government passed a law that if you want to get divorced and you believe your spouse is cheating, you're no longer required to get pictures or video of them cheating. You know, that has basically what it comes down to. It has no effect on your financial settlement these days if you're able to catch your spouse cheating.
Okay, so just to clarify, because I think it's important our viewers understand that if, for example, I catch my wife cheating and she's destroyed my family, the kids are being separated, she's with another man, and she has done all sorts of bad things, that when it comes down to the financial settlement, you're saying that it really doesn't matter who's cheating on who. It has no bearing, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so if I'm in a relationship that's failing and I want out of the relationship because my partner is cheating, all right, I can just leave, correct? I can leave and I can apply for a divorce? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's create a scenario. You know, my wife is acting differently at the house. She's coming in late. You know, she's having a shower before she goes to bed. Maybe she doesn't do that. I'm seeing all sorts of signals, that kind of thing, and I'm hiring you. So tell me what some of the signals are that my spouse may be cheating on me.
Some of the signals could be the sex life is not the same since you've noticed there's been a change. Okay. Another sign could be there's a financial situation where you notice that there's more activity on the credit card use and you don't know what the payments are for, okay, or there's money missing from the bank account. Other signs could be change of clothes. Your spouse could be taking an extra pair of underwear or clothes to work, and he or she comes home wearing different clothes, or when they do come home, the first thing they do is jump into the shower and they hide the clothes they're wearing.
Okay, so if I'm hiring, do we automatically just go right into a surveillance? Like, how am I going to set this up with you? Let's pretend that I have no idea, how we go about finding that my spouse is cheating. So I come into your office, are we setting up a surveillance immediately? Is that how it's going to work?
Well, the first step is I meet with the client in my office.
Okay.
Preferably in my office, or I'll come see them wherever they would like to meet if they don't feel comfortable coming to my office. And we just discuss I would ask them questions like, what makes you think your spouse is cheating? They tell me their situation, how long they've been married for, when they've noticed a change in their marriage and the relationship. And then I would ask them questions, any idea who the other party could be, who they're cheating with. Sometimes it comes down, they have an idea it's a coworker, or it's a friend, or even a family member.
So let me ask you this just for fun. On the majority of situations where people think a spouse is cheating on them and they have that suspicion, what would be the percentage that almost for sure that spouse is in fact cheating by the time they've got to the situation? Look, I need to hire a PI to follow them. Is it high, or?
It's pretty high. I would say 8 out of 10 clients are correct that their spouse is cheating.
That there's some form of cheating going on. Now, one of the things, I get the phone call all the time, and I would love to be able to help these people, but it's not something that I do, is that there's this whole thing now with internet dating. There are websites, Lava Life, Plenty of Fish. People are meeting people on the internet with MySpace, Facebook.com, all of these other internet-based sites where people are, for the first time ever, are meeting on the internet and starting to arrange for dates and stuff like that on the internet. So let's say, for example, I've met a woman on the internet, or vice versa, a man or a woman has met a man on the internet or whatever, and I want to hire you just to say, look, I want to know a little bit about this girl. She won't give me her home phone number. She won't tell me where she lives. We've been chatting for almost 9 months now. We've had a few dates. Things aren't adding up. I think that I might actually be dating or pursuing a married woman. Can I hire you to do something like that for?
Actually, the past 10 years, the explosion of the internet has been huge.
Okay.
The past 5 years, our business has tripled with background checks on just potential mates that they've met over the internet.
Mm-hmm.